Imagine this. A young waitress stands behind the counter of a run-down diner in Chicago. Rain taps against the foggy windows. Her hands tremble from exhaustion. Then a man walks in, hest tall, dressed in a crisp white suit that screams wealth. She reaches for a coffee pot to serve him, but her tired fingers slip. The pot tilts. Hot coffee splashes across his pristine vest. She freezes, expecting anger. Instead, he smiles. That moment, that spill, changes everything. It sparks a love story no one saw coming, a tale of two opposites, four miracles, and a past that nearly tears them apart. Stick around, because this is just the beginning. Her name is Ellie Brooks. She's 25, with dark hair pulled into a messy bun, apron stained from a long shift. The diner smells of grease and burnt toast. It's a Thursday evening, gray and dreary outside. Ellie has been on her feet for 10 hours. She lives for her little brother Ben, who's sick with a heart condition. Every dime she earns goes to his medicine. Romance? That's a luxury she can't afford. She's too busy surviving. The bell above the door jingles. She looks up, wiping her hands on a rag. In walks a man who don't belong here. Has Grayson Hart, 38, a billionaire who owns half the skyscrapers in this city. But Ellie don't know that. To her, Hez just a stranger in a white suit, too sharp for a place like this. His dark hair is neatly combed, his jaw strong, but there's a shadow in his eyes, a loneliness he hides behind that polished exterior. He sits at the counter right in front of her. His voice is low, smooth. "Black coffee, please." Ellie nods, grabs the pot. Shez distracted, thinking about Ben's latest doctor bill. Her grip falters, the pot slips, coffee pours out, a dark wave soaking his vest, dripping onto the floor. Ellie gasps. "Oh my God, Em! So sorry." Her heart pounds. She braces for a shout, a complaint, maybe even a demand to see the manager. She'd seen customers flip out over less. She grabs a handful of napkins, thrusts them at him. "Here, let me. I'm so sorry." Her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She waits for the storm, but it don't come. Grayson looks down at the mess, then up at her. His lips curve into a smile, soft and unexpected. "Don't worry," he says. "I like my coffee strong. Guess I got it." His tone is warm, teasing, like they're sharing a secret. Ellie blinks. Did he just joke about it? She stammers. "I can get you a towel, or, I'll pay for the cleaning, I swear." He waves a hand, brushing off her panic. "It's just a suit. I've got plenty." He dabs at the stain with a napkin, unbothered. She stares, caught off guard. Most people in this diner snap at her for a cold fry. This guy takes a coffee bath and laughs it off? There's something about him, something calm, steady. She notices his eyes, deep brown, like they see more than she wants to show. She turns to grab a fresh pot, hands still shaky. "I'll get you another one, on the house." He chuckles. "Only if you promise not to wear it this time." She glances back, catches that smile again. Her stomach flips, not from fear, but something else, something new. She pours the coffee, sets it down carefully. "There, safe and sound." He nods, takes a sip. "Perfect." For a moment, they just look at each other. The diner fades away. The hum of the rain outside grows louder. It's strange, electric, like the air before a storm. Grayson finishes his coffee, stands to leave. Ellie busies herself wiping the counter, pretending she's not watching him. He pulls out his wallet, drops a $100 bill on the counter. Her eyes widen. "Sir, your coffee was $2. He shrugs. "Keep it, you look like you could use a break." Before she can argue, he scribbles something on a napkin, slides it toward her. "My number, in case you ever spill coffee on me again." He winks, walks out into the rain. The bell jingles. Has gone. Ellie picks up the napkin, stares at the digits scrawled in black ink. $100 and his number? Who is this guy? She tucks it into her apron, heart racing. She tells herself it's nothing, just a weird night, a generous tipper. But as she locks up later, rain streaking the windows, she can't shake his face. That smile, those eyes, she don't know it yet, but Grayson heartened just a stranger. Has a man who's about to turn her world upside down. Back at his penthouse, Grayson peels off the stained vest, tosses it aside. He stands by a floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at Shekelow's glittering skyline. Hez built an empire, owns properties worth billions, but tonight he feels something else. That waitress, Ellie, with her nervous hands and tired eyes, she stuck with him. He don't know why. Hez used to polished women, designer dresses, shallow chatter. She was different. Real, messy, alive. He smiles to himself, thinking about that coffee spill. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was fate. Ellie gets home to her cramped apartment, checks on Ben. Hez asleep, small chest rising and falling under a thin blanket. She pulls the napkin from her pocket, stares at it again. Should she call? No, that's crazy. Hez probably some rich guy slumming it for fun. She crumples it, tosses it into the trash. But as she lies in bed, rain drumming on the roof, she can't sleep. His voice echoes in her head. I like my coffee strong. She closes her eyes, wondering if she'll ever see him again. She will, and when she does, it'll be the start of something bigger than she could ever imagine. Ellie wipes the counter at the diner, her apron still stained from last night's shift. Rain streaks the windows, casting a gray glow over the empty tables. She can't stop thinking about the man in the white suit, the one who smiled when she spilled coffee on him, Grayson Hart. His name rolls around in her mind like a song she can't forget. She shakes her head, tells herself his just a memory. But then the bell jingles. She looks up. There he is, back again, sitting at the same spot. His dark hair catches the dim light, his eyes lock on hers. Black coffee, he says, voice low and steady. Her heart skips. This time she pours it without a spill. He comes every day after that, always at dusk when the diner is quiet. He sits at the counter, sips his coffee and talks to her, not about big things, just life. She tells him about her brother Ben, how Hez Tenen fights a bad heart every day. Grayson listens, really listens, his brown eyes soft with something she can't name. You're strong, he says one night, watching her stack cups. Stronger than you know. She blushes, brushes it off. Just doing what I have to. But his words stick, warming her inside like the coffee she serves. Grayson starts bringing her things, small gifts, nothing flashy. One day, it's a blue scarf for Ben, soft wool to keep him warm. Thought he might like it, he says, casual, like it's no big deal. Ellie takes it, fingers brushing his, her breath catches. Another time, he hands her a pair of gloves when the Chicago wind turns bitter. Your hands were cold last night, he explains. She stares at him, this man who notices her chapped fingers, who cares enough to do something about it. She's not used to that. Most people in her life take, don't give. They fall into a rhythm. He shows up, they talk, he leaves a big tip. She starts looking forward to his visits, counting the hours until dusk. One evening, the diner is dead, just them and the hum of the old fridge. He finishes his coffee, stands to go. Then he pauses. Walk with me, he says, not a question, but not a demand either. Ellie hesitates. She's got dishes to wash, a shift to finish, but his eyes pull her in, deep and quiet. She grabs her coat, follows him out into the night. The streets of Chicago glow under streetlights, wet from earlier rain. They walk side by side, breath fogging in the cold air. He asks about her dreams, what she'd do if money wants a chain. She laughs, a little bitter. I'd fix Ben up, get him healthy, maybe see the ocean someday. He nods, like Hez filing it away. She asks what he does. Business, he says vaguely, hands in his pockets. Keeps me busy. She don't push. Don't need to. His voice, his presence, that's enough. They reach the river, water shimmering black and gold. He stops, turns to her. You ever just stop and feel it? The city, the night? She shrugs. Never had time. He steps closer, close enough she can smell his cologne, woodsy and warm. Make time now, he whispers. Her heart pounds. He lifts a hand, brushes a strand of hair from her face. Then he leans in. Their lips meet, soft at first, then deeper, hungry. The world melts away, just them and the river in this moment. When they pull back, her cheeks are flushed, his eyes are bright. I've wanted to do that since the coffee, he admits. She smiles, shy. Took you long enough? From then on, it's different. He waits for her after every shift, walks her home through the dark streets. She lets him in, bit by bit, tells him how her dad died, how her mom left, how Ben's all she's got. He dove judge just holds her hand, his grip firm and steady. One night, he pulls her close outside her building, kisses her under the flickering porch light. You're not alone anymore, he says against her lip. She believes him. For the first time in years, she feels safe, seen, wanted. Grayson keeps his secrets, though. He don't tell her about the penthouse overlooking the city, the billions in his name, the empire he runs. To her, Hez just Grayson, the guy who drinks her coffee and makes her laugh. He likes it that way. Loves how she looks at him not for what he has, but who he is. Every night he goes back to his sterile world of glass and steel, but his mind stays with her, her tired smile, her quiet strength. She's real in a way nothing else in his life is. Ellie lies awake after those walks, replaying his kisses, his words. She don't know what he does all day, where he goes when he leaves her, don't care. Hez hers in those stolen hours, and that's enough. She keeps his scarf on Ben's chair, his gloves in her pocket. Little pieces of him in her small, broken world. She don't know how deep she's falling, how much Hez changing her. Not yet. In his penthouse, Grayson stares out at the skyline, a glass of whiskey in hand. He thinks about Ellie, her voice, her touch. Hez built towers, made fortunes, but nothing feels like this. She's a waitress in a cheap diner, and Hez a king of this city. They're opposites, worlds apart, but when Hez with her, none of that matters. He wants to give her everything, fix her brother's heart, take her to that ocean she dreams of. He just has told her he can. Not yet. Love creeps in quietly, through coffee cups and cold nights, through glances and gentle hands. Ellie didn't see the storm coming, the truth waiting to break them. Grayson didn't either. For now, it's just them, two souls finding each other in the shadows of Chicago. 4 tiny miracles are on their way, but so is a past that could shatter it all. Ellie stands in the tiny bathroom of her apartment, staring at the stick in her hand. 2 pink lines glare back at her. Her breath catches. She's pregnant. 8 weeks since that kiss by the river, since Grayson walked into her life. She sinks to the floor, tiles cold against her legs. Her mind races. Ben needs her. The diner barely pays the bills, and now this. The room spins. She don't know yet that it's not just one baby. It's 4, quadruplets. A miracle waiting to turn her world upside down. She waits 2 days, hands trembling every time she thinks of telling Grayson. Has been her rock, showing up every night, kissing her under the streetlights. But a baby, no, 4 babies, that's different. What if he runs? She sees him at the diner, same spot, same coffee. His smile lights up when she walks over. You okay? He asks, catching the worry in her eyes. She nods, forces a grin. Just tired. He don't push, just sips his drink. Watches her like she's the only thing in the room. That night he walks her home again. The air is sharp, winter creeping in. They stop outside her building, his arms around her. She can't hold it in anymore. Grayson, she says, voice shaking. Impregnant. He freezes, eyes wide. She braces for the worst, for him to pull away, but he don't. He drops to one knee right there on the cracked pavement, takes her hands. We're having a baby. His voice is soft, awed. She nods, tears spilling. Not just 1, 4 quadruplets. His jaw drops, then he laughs, a sound so pure it cuts through her fear. 4? He pulls her close, buries his face in her coat. 4 miracles. Ellie, I'm not going anywhere. He moves her into his penthouse the next day. She protests, says she can manage, but he won't hear it. You're not climbing those stairs. Not with 4 of our kids and you, he insists. She steps into his world, floors of marble, windows showing Chicago's skyline. It's overwhelming, this place that don't fit her faded jeans and scuffed shoes. She asks, how do you afford this? He shrugs, vague as ever. Business is good. She lets it go, too tired to dig. Hess still just Grayson to her, not the billionaire he hides. He takes care of her. Every morning he brings her tea when the nausea hits, sits with her on the couch until it passes. He learns what she craves, fries eggs at midnight when she can't sleep. She watches him, this man who could be anywhere, doing anything but chooses to be here, with her. One night she's curled up, feeling the first flutters in her belly. He kneels beside her, presses his hand there. Hey, little stars, he whispers. I'm your dad. Her heart swells. She reaches for him, pulls him into a kiss, deep and slow. You're too good to me, she murmurs. He smiles against her lips. Not good enough. Not yet. Ellie starts to see the future. 4 cribs, 4 tiny faces. She imagines Grayson holding them, his strong hands gentle. She's scared, sure. 4 kids on a waitress's wage is impossible, but with him it feels possible. He talks about names, Caleb for a boy, Rose for a girl. She laughs, adds Finn and Lily to the list. They lie in bed, his arm around her, dreaming out loud. We'll take them to the ocean, he says. You'll see it too. She believes him, trusts this life has building for them. Grayson keeps his secret close. Don't tell her about Hart Properties, the billions he commands. He loves how she sees him, raw and real, not a tycoon in a tower. Every night he comes home to her, leaves the boardrooms behind. He watches her sleep, her hand on her growing belly, and feels something he never has before. Purpose, love. Those 4 lives inside her, they're his too. He wants to give them everything, but he can't tell her how much everything really is. Not yet. Ellie notices things, though. The way he answers calls in hushed tones, steps away when his phone buzzes. The penthouse. Too perfect, too grand. She asks once, what kind of business? He smiles, deflects. The kind that keeps me busy. She drops it. Don't want to break this bubble they're in. She's falling hard, deeper every day. His touch, his voice, the way he looks at her like she's his whole world. She's never had that. Never thought she could. He starts planning. Calls doctors, the best in the city, sets up appointments. Ellie teases him. You're worse than me fussing like this. He grins. 4 kids, Ellie. We don't mess around. She laughs, but she loves it. Loves him. They sit by the window one night, city light sparkling below. He pulls her close, hand on her stomach. Feel that? She asks as a tiny kick presses back. His eyes shine. Yeah, our stars. They kiss, long and tender, lost in each other. Ellie don't know the storm coming, don't know the truth hiding in his past, the shadow that ties them together. She's caught up in this love, this man, these 4 miracles growing inside her. Grayson watches her, heart full but heavy. He wants to tell her who he is, what he can do for her, for them. But Hez afraid she'll see the money, not the man. Afraid of what else she might find if she looks too close. For now it's just them in this penthouse high above Chicago. Love wraps around them, soft and sure, like a blanket against the cold. 4 tiny heartbeats echo in her womb, a promise of what's to come. Ellie rests her head on his chest, listens to his breathing. She thinks she's found her safe place. Grayson holds her tighter, prays she never lets go. Ellie sits on the plush couch in Grayson's penthouse, 30 weeks pregnant, her belly round and heavy with their 4 babies. The Chicago skyline glitters through the windows, a world she's still getting used to. She's alone tonight, Grayson at some late meeting he wouldn't explain. Her back aches, so she stands, stretches, wanders to his study, Papers clutter his desk. A safe sits in the corner, door ajar. She shouldn't snoop, knows it, but curiosity pulls her. She nudges the safe open wider. A folder slips out, lands at her feet. She picks it up, heart thudding for no reason she can name. The folder is old, edges worn. She opens it. Documents spill into her lap, property deeds, eviction notices. Her eyes catch a name. Her family's name, Brooks. Her breath stops. She reads on, words blurring. Hart Properties, Grayson's company. Bought their apartment building 10 years ago. Kicked them out. Her dad lost everything, drowned in debt, took his own life. Ben got sick breathing mold in the cheap place they moved to. She drops the folder, papers scattering. Grayson did this. The man she loves destroyed her family. She hears the front door. Grayson walks in, tie loose, smile fading when he sees her face. "Ellie, what's wrong?" He steps closer. She holds up a trembling hand, the eviction notice clutched tight. "You," she whispers, voice breaking. "You took our home. You killed my dad." His eyes widen, face paling. "What are you talking about?" She throws the paper at him. "Don't lie. Hart Properties, you're Grayson Hart. You ruined us." He catches it, scans the words, realization crashing over him like a wave. "Ellie, I don't know it was you." She stands, belly swaying, tears streaming. "Didn't know? You evicted us, Grayson. My dad hung himself because of you. Ben can't breathe right because of you." Her voice rises, raw and jagged. "I trusted you. I loved you." He reaches for her, desperate. "I was young, just following my father's orders. I didn't see the names, the faces. I swear, Ellie, I didn't know." She pulls back, shaking. "You're a billionaire. You didn't care who you hurt, and now what? You think 4 babies fix this?" He drops to his knees, voice thick. "I never meant to hurt you. I built this empire to escape him, to be better. When I met you, I didn't know you were part of that past." She stares down at him, his perfect suit wrinkled, his eyes pleading. "You should have told me who you are," she says, cold now. "All those nights, all those kisses, and you hid this." He grabs her hands, holds tight. "I was scared you'd see the money, not me. I love you, Ellie. You and our kids, you're everything." Then he says it, the twist that stops her heart. "I met you before, 10 years ago. You were 15, crying at your dad's grave. I was there, delivering papers for my father. You looked up at me, tears on your face, and I promised myself I'd protect you if I ever saw you again." He swallows hard. "Then I got hit by a car, lost chunks of my memory. When I saw you in the diner, I didn't remember, but my heart did. That's why I stayed." Ellie stumbles back, hands on her stomach. "You're lying," she chokes out, but she sees it now, a fuzzy memory of a boy in a suit handing her a tissue at the cemetery. Her head spins. "You promised to protect me? You destroyed me." He stands, voice breaking. "I'd know it was you until now. Ellie, I'm so sorry. These babies, they're my chance to fix it, to fix us." She shakes her head, tears blinding her. "You can't fix this. Not with money. Not with love." She grabs her coat, heads for the door. He blocks her, gentle but firm. "You're 30 weeks pregnant. You can't go out there alone." She glares, fire in her eyes. "Watch me." He steps aside, helpless, as she storms out. The elevator doors close on his shattered face. She feels a kick, sharp and strong, 4 little lives reminding her they're still here. She sobs, clutching her belly. "I'm sorry, babies. I'm so sorry." Grayson sinks to the floor, papers around him like ghosts. He sees her 15-year-old face in his mind, those tears he couldn't forget. He'd all know she was the same girl, the waitress who spilled coffee, the woman carrying his children. His chest aches. Has lost her. The love he fought for, the family he dreamed of, gone because of a past he can't undo. He picks up the eviction notice, stares at his father's signature next to his own. "What have I done?" he whispers. Ellie walks through the cold Chicago night, back to her old apartment. The stairs creak under her weight, her breath short. She collapses on the sagging couch, Ben asleep in the next room. Her hands cradle her stomach, feeling those kicks again. She loves Grayson, hates that she does. His voice echoes, "I promised I'd protect you." She wants to believe him, wants to run back to his arms, but the pain cuts too deep. Her dad, Ben, her whole life wrecked by the man she gave her heart to. Grayson stays up, pacing the penthouse. He pulls out his phone, scrolls through pictures of Ellie, her smiling at him over coffee, her laughing on their walks. He stops at one, her hand on her belly, glowing with their babies. 4 miracles, he can't lose them, can't lose her. He grabs his coat, heads out into the night. Has not letting her go without a fight, not after everything. Ellie cries herself to sleep, the folder beside her. She dreams of her dad, of Grayson at the grave, of 4 tiny faces she hasn't met. Love and hate twist inside her, a storm she can't escape. Grayson did this to her, but he also gave her this, these babies, this feeling she can't shake. The truth is out, sharp and cruel, and it's breaking them apart. Ellie slams the door of her old apartment, the wood rattling in its frame. Her coat slips to the floor, 30 weeks pregnant and exhausted. The Chicago wind howls outside, rattling the thin windows. She sinks onto the sagging couch, hands trembling as they cradle her swollen belly. 4 kicks press against her palms, sharp reminders of the life she's carrying, the life she shared with Grayson. Tears spill down her cheeks. She left him, walked out of his penthouse, his world, but his voice echoes in her head. "I promised I'd protect you." She wants to scream, to erase him, but her heart won't let go. The apartment smells of damp and dust, a far cry from the marble floors she left behind. She glances at Ben's room, his small shape under a blanket. Has all she has left of her old family, the one Grayson tore apart. She pulls a worn photo from her pocket, her dad smiling, alive. "You did this," she whispers, picturing Grayson's face. The eviction, the debt, the rope around her father's neck. She hates him, loves him. The two twist inside her, a knot she can't untangle. She sobs, loud and broken, muffling it so Ben won't wake. Grayson stands in his penthouse, the silence deafening. Papers from the safe litter the floor, a map of his sins. He stares at the spot where Ellie stood, her words cutting him still. "You killed my dad." He drops to the couch, head in his hands. Her scent lingers, coffee and lavender, a ghost he can't chase away. He sees her at 15, crying at that grave, his younger self helpless beside her. He doubt knows she was the same girl. He'll connect the dots until tonight. Now it's too late. Shez gone, taking their 4 babies with her. He grabs his coat, steps into the night. Rain soaks his suit, the same white one she stained months ago. He walks to her building, stands across the street, staring up at her window. A light flickers, her shadow moves. His chest aches. He wants to run up those stairs, beg her to listen. But he don't. She needs space, he tells himself. He stays there, soaked and shivering, watching over her like he promised all those years ago. Hours pass, the light goes out. He turns away, a hollow man. Ellie wakes to a gray dawn, eyes puffy from crying. She checks on Ben, his breathing shallow but steady. She makes tea, hands shaking, sits by the window. Every creak of the floor reminds her of Grayson, his footsteps in the penthouse. She hates how much she misses him, his arms around her, his whispers to their babies. "Our stars," Head called them. She feels a kick, then another, 4 little lives fighting inside her. "I'm doing this for you," she murmurs. But doubt creeps in. Is she? Grayson sits in his office, skyline dark beyond the glass. He ignores calls, emails, the empire he built. His assistant knocks. "Sir, the board needs you." He waves her off. Nothing matters but Ellie. He pulls out a letter, starts writing. "I saw you at your dad's grave. You were so small, so broken. I swore I'd fix it if I could. Then I forgot, lost it in the crash. Meeting you again, loving you, it brought me back. I'm sorry, Ellie, for everything." He seals it. hands it to Ben outside the diner that afternoon. "Give this to her," he says. Ben nods, curious but quiet. Ellie finds the letter on the table, Ben's messy handwriting on a note beside it. "The coffee guy dropped this." She stares at it, pulse racing. She tears it open, reads his words. Her throat tightens. She sees that boy at the cemetery, his awkward kindness now blurred into the man she loves. She crumples it, throws it in the trash. "No," she says aloud. She can't forgive him, can't let him in. Not after what he did, but her fingers itch to pull it back, to hold it close. Nights drag on. Ellie sleeps fitfully, dreams of Grayson, of their babies crying for him. She wakes to Ben's coughs, her own fears. She can't do this alone, not with 4 kids coming. But she won't go back, won't let him buy her forgiveness with his money, his lies. Grayson waits outside again, rain dripping from his hair. He sees her silhouette. Pray shall look down. She don't. He writes more letters, leaves them with Ben. She throws them away, unread, but each one chips at her resolve. Ellie sits alone, hands on her belly, feeling those kicks. She loves him still, hates herself for it. Grayson stands in the rain, a shadow of the tycoon he was, loving her from afar. They're apart, broken, but bound by 4 tiny hearts neither can let go. Ellie doubles over in her apartment, a sharp pain slicing through her at 32 weeks. Her breath comes fast, panic rising. She clutches her belly, 4 babies restless inside her. The room blurs, her vision spotting. She stumbles to the phone, dials for help. "It's too soon," she gasps to the operator. Sirens wail outside, cutting through the Chicago night. She thinks of Grayson, his face flashing in her mind, but pushes it away. Shay's alone now, has to be. The paramedics burst in, lift her onto a stretcher. She feels wet warmth, blood, and fear grips her. "My babies," she whispers. They rush her to Hart Memorial, Grayson's hospital, though she do know it. The ER is chaos, white coats swarming. A doctor shouts, "Preeclampsia, she's crashing, we need an OR now." Ellie's fading, pain and terror swallowing her. Then she hears him. "Ellie." Grayson runs in, soaked from the rain, eyes wild. He got the call from a friend on staff, dropped everything. He grabs her hand, cold against his warmth. "In here," he says, voice breaking. She tries to pull away, weak. "Go," she mumbles. He holds tighter. "Never." They wheel her into surgery, Grayson in scrubs beside her. The anesthesiologist works fast, numbing her spine. She feels pressure, not pain. Her doctor's words a haze. "BP dropping," someone calls. Grayson squeezes her hand, his face the only clear thing. "Stay with me, Ellie. You're strong." She wants to hate him, but his voice anchors her. The doctor cuts, quick and sure. A cry pierces the air, small but fierce. "First one's a boy," the nurse says. Grayson laughs through tears. "Caleb," he whispers. Ellie blinks, dazed, joy fighting her fear. Another cry, then another. "Second boy, Finn," the doctor announces. "First girl, Rose." Ellie feels them, 4 lives slipping from her, each scream a miracle. "Last one, Lily," the nurse says, voice bright. 4 babies, all here, all fighting. The room spins, monitors beep wildly. "Chest bleeding out," the anesthesiologist warns. "Transfusion, now." Ellie fades, blood pooling beneath her. She looks at Grayson, his eyes locked on hers. "If I don't make it," she rasps, "love them." He shakes his head, tears falling. "You're not leaving us." He steps back, lets the team work, but stays close. Nurses rush the babies to incubators, tiny but strong. Grayson watches, torn, then kneels by Ellie again as they stitch her up. "You did it," he says, voice thick. 4 miracles. She drifts, hearing their cries, his words. Hours pass in a blur. She wakes in recovery, machines humming, Grayson beside her. 4 incubators circle the bed, her babies inside, alive. She stares, weak but whole. "They're okay?" she asks. He nods, eyes red. "Perfect." He takes her hand, gentle. "I was terrified. When your pressure dropped, I thought I'd lose you, all 5 of you." She looks at him, sees the man who stayed, who fought with her. "Why are you here?" she murmurs. He kneels, voice raw. "Because I love you. Before I knew who you were, before the babies, before the past came back. That day at the grave, I didn't remember you, but my soul did. I fell for you all over again in that diner." She swallows, tears welling. "You hurt me, my family?" He nods, head bowed. "I did. I can't undo it, but I can spend my life making it right. For you, for them." He gestures to the incubators, Caleb, Finn, Rose, Lily, their tiny chests rising. "I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to let me love you through it." Ellie closes her eyes, feels those kicks in her memory, his hand in hers now. She sees her dad, hears his laugh. Then Grayson's voice, promising her at 15. She opens her eyes, meets his. "You really saw me back then?" He nods. "And every day since." She reaches for him, slow, fingers brushing his. "I hate you," she says, soft, "but I love you more." He exhales, a sob breaking free, presses her hand to his lips. "That's enough, more than enough." She pulls him closer, their foreheads touch. "Don't leave us," she whispers. "Never again," he vows. The babies coo, a chorus of life around them. She feels it, love winning, stitching her heart back together. Grayson sits beside her, watching their 4 miracles. Caleb stretches a tiny hand. Finn kicks. Rose blinks. Lily sleeps. "Our stars," he says, echoing their old dreams. Ellie nods, tears falling, but they're warm now, not bitter. The past still stings, her dad's loss, Ben's pain, but this family, it's a new start. She squeezes his hand, feels his pulse against hers. "We made them," she says, awed. "We did," he agrees, voice full of wonder. The room glows, soft light on their faces. Ellie looks at Grayson, sees the boy who cared, the man who stayed. She's still angry, still hurt, but love outweighs it all. He leans in, kisses her forehead, tender and sure. "I'm yours," he murmurs, "all of you." She closes her eyes, lets herself believe. 4 little heartbeats fill the silence, a rhythm of hope, of healing. They're broken, scarred, but together they're whole. Haley stands in a sunlit park, a year after the hospital room where her world nearly ended. The Chicago breeze rustles her hair, now loose and soft. 4 toddlers stumble around her, Caleb chasing Finn, Rose tugging Lily's hand. Their laughter fills the air, bright and wild. She watches them, heart full, scars still there but fading. The park stretches wide, green and open, a gift from Grayson. He named it Brookshaven, after her dad. She touches the plaque by the lake, her father's name carved in stone. A quiet promise kept. Grayson kneels beside her, suit swapped for jeans, a man remade. He sold half his properties, poured the money into this place, a sanctuary for kids like Ben, who's stronger now, playing nearby. He looks at Ellie, eyes soft. "You like it?" he asks. She nods, tears pricking. "It's perfect." He pulls a small box from his pocket, opens it. A ring glints, simple but hers. "Marry me," he says, voice steady. "Let me give you forever." She stares, then smiles, slow and sure. Yes." The kids swarm them, tiny hands grabbing. Grayson lifts Rose, Ellie scoops Finn, Caleb and Lily tugging their legs. They laugh, a messy, beautiful tangle. He slips the ring on her finger, kisses her under the oak trees, the crowd of saplings clapping in the wind. "I love you," he murmurs, "all 5 of you." She leans into him, feels their babies between them, alive and loud. "We love you too," she says, meaning it, past and all. They walk to the lake, sunlight dancing on the water. Grayson built this from his guilt, his love, a bridge between their worlds. Ellie sees her dad smile in the ripples, hears it in her kids' giggles. She forgives him, not all at once, but enough. Enough to hold Grayson's hand, to build this life. The toddlers chase ducks, Ben joins in, his cough gone. She squeezes Grayson's fingers, feels his pulse, steady as ever. We did good, she says. He nods, eyes on their family. Better than good. Time skips forward, a snapshot of them at dusk. Ellie sits on a bench, Grayson beside her, 4 little ones sprawled in the grass, tired from play. The park hums with other families, kids who never knew the streets she did. She rests her head on his shoulder, his arm around her. "Remember the coffee?" he asks, grinning. She laughs, soft. "How could I forget? That spill, that moment, it led here, to this peace, these miracles." They watch the sunset, gold bleeding into the sky, a new beginning carved from old pain. Ellie looks at him, sees the boy at the grave, the man in the rain, the father now. Hers, flaws and all. She thinks of her dad, of Ben, of the 4 stars who lit their way back. Love had erased the hurt, but it built something stronger. Grayson kisses her temple, whispers, "Our stars shine bright." She nods, tears falling, happy ones. They sit there, a family of 6, whole in the glow of Brooks Haven.